I stood 3 feet away when he begged for help. The rain carried something dark to my shoes, and I froze. For 52 years, I waited for someone to come for me, but no one ever did. Tonight, at 84, I'm finally going to tell you why. I've been waiting for 52 years for a knock that never came. Not a day passed that I didn't listen for it. Not a night I didn't wake up, heart racing, convinced this was it, that someone was finally standing on the other side of my door, but no one ever came. Now I'm 84 years old, sitting alone in a dim apartment on the south side of Chicago, with an oxygen tube pressed beneath my nose and a machine beside me, counting breaths I no longer trust to come naturally. The doctor said I might have a few months, maybe less. Funny thing is, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of dying before I hear that knock. Because for over half a century, I've lived as if it was coming. Every siren that slowed near my street, every stranger who glanced at me too long, every unexpected phone call after midnight, I thought it was them, the police, justice, the past. But time has a way of doing something worse than punishment. It lets you live with it, carry it, feed it silence until it grows into something that breathes inside your chest, something that never lets you forget who you were in a single moment you can't take back. I was 32, strong, working, invisible in the way men like me often are. That night, it rained harder than I'd ever seen. The kind of rain that turns streets into mirrors and shadows, into something you can't quite trust. I remember thinking I should take the longer way home. I didn't. And somewhere between one streetlight and the next, I saw something I was never meant to see. For 52 years, I told myself the same thing. I didn't do anything. But tonight, for the first time in my life, I'm going to tell you why that's a lie. The rain came down so hard that night, it blurred the edges of everything. Streetlights bled into the pavement. Shadows stretched and dissolved with every passing car. Even the sound of my own footsteps felt distant, like they belonged to someone else walking a few seconds behind me. It was late, past midnight, the kind of hour where the city doesn't sleep. It just lowers its voice. I had just gotten off a long shift. My jacket was soaked through, clinging to my shoulders, cold water sliding down my spine. I remember pulling my collar up, trying to shield my face from the rain, keeping my head down as I cut through a side street I'd taken 100 times before. That's when I heard it. A sharp metallichous sound, like something hitting the ground, then silence. I slowed just a little. At first, I told myself it was nothing. A trash can, a loose pipe, something falling in the wind. Then came the voice. Don't. It was weak, strained, almost swallowed by the rain. I stopped. Not completely, just enough for my body to hesitate while my mind searched for a reason to keep walking. Another sound followed. Movement, shoes scraping wet concrete, fast, uneven. I turned my head. To the right there was a narrow alley, half hidden between two brick buildings. A single streetlight hung above it, flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive or give up. And in that broken light, I saw them. Two figures, one standing, one on the ground. The man on the ground was twisted slightly onto his side, one hand pressed against his stomach. Even from where I stood, I could tell something was wrong with the way he moved, slow, desperate, like his body wasn't responding the way it should. The other man stood over him, still watching. Rain poured between them like a curtain. I should have kept walking. That's what I told myself later. That any smart man would have kept his head down and walked away. But I didn't. I took a step closer. Just one. The man on the ground made a sound again, louder. This time, a breath that broke into something like a word. Help. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't even a call. It was a request. Already halfway gone. My chest tightened. 3 meters, maybe less. That's all that separated me from him, close enough to see his fingers trembling against the pavement, close enough to see the dark stain spreading beneath him, diluted and carried away by the rain. He was alive. That's the part that never left me. He was still alive. The man standing over him shifted slightly, just enough for his face to catch the light. And that's when everything inside me went cold. I knew him, not well, not closely, but enough. Enough to understand that this wasn't random. Enough to know that if I stepped any closer, I wasn't just a passerby anymore. I was involved. The man's eyes lifted, slowly, until they met mine. For a second, no one moved. Not me, not him, not even the man bleeding on the ground. Then he spoke, quiet, calm, like we were the only 2 men in the world. You didn't see anything. The rain filled the silence that followed. Behind him, the man on the ground tried to move again. His hand reached, barely lifting, dragging across the wet concrete in my direction. Please? I felt it then. Not fear, something worse. A choice. 1 step forward, and everything changes. 1 step back, and I walk away clean. I stood there, frozen between the two, between who I was and who I would become. And in that moment, I hesitated. For a second, maybe less, the world narrowed to just 3 of us. The rain, the man on the ground, and me. Everything else disappeared. No cars, no city, no future. Just that moment, waiting for me to decide what kind of man I was. The man standing in front of me didn't move. He didn't need to. His eyes stayed locked on mine, steady, certain, like he already knew how this would end. You didn't see anything. He said it again, not louder, not sharper, just clearer. Behind him, the man on the ground dragged in a broken breath. His fingers scraped against the pavement, inching forward, leaving faint streaks in the water, as if he could pull himself closer to me. Help me. This time, I heard it completely. No rain swallowed it. No distance softened it. It hit me exactly the way it was meant to. I felt my body lean forward just slightly. Instinct, not courage, not yet. Just something human. My mind started racing. If I stepped in, if I said something, if I shouted, ran, did anything, what then? Would he turn on me? Would I end up on that ground beside him? I didn't know, and not knowing, that was the worst part, because it gave me something to hide behind. I looked at the man standing there, really looked this time, Michael Turner. I knew his face from the neighborhood, from passing conversations, from the kind of quiet familiarity that never means much, until suddenly it means everything. He wasn't panicking. That's what scared me. No shaking hands, no frantic movement, just calm, controlled, watching me, waiting. like I wasn't a threat, like I was predictable. The man on the ground let out another sound, softer now, fading. His hand lifted it again, trembling, reaching toward me through the rain. 3 meters. That's all it would have taken. One step forward, a shout, a run toward the nearest phone, anything. I could have done something. That truth didn't come later. It was there, right then, clear, loud, undeniable. And still, I hesitated because another voice had already begun to speak inside my head. This isn't your problem. You don't know what happened. You could make it worse. You have a life, a job, a future. Walk away. I wish I could tell you that I fought it, that I stood there, torn, battling between right and wrong, like the kind of man people write stories about. But the truth is, it didn't take long. Fear doesn't argue. It decides. My shoulders dropped just a little. Enough. The man on the ground saw it. I know he did, because something in his eyes changed. Hope slipping, not all at once, just enough for me to notice, and still not enough for me to move. Michael's gaze never left mine. He gave the smallest nod, not approval, recognition, like we had just agreed on something without saying it out loud. That's when I took the step back. It didn't feel like much, just one movement, one shift of weight. But it was everything, because once I stepped back, the rest became easy. I turned slowly at first, then faster, my feet finding the rhythm of escape before my mind could catch up. I didn't run. I told myself that mattered. I just walked. Back into the rain, back into the streetlights, back into a life that, from the outside, would look exactly the same. Behind me, I heard something. I don't know if it was a voice, or just the rain hitting the ground harder than before. I never turned around. Not then, not ever. And as I walked away, I told myself the same thing that would follow me for the next 52 years. Someone else will help him. Someone has to. I repeated it with every step, with every breath, until I almost believed it. Almost. Because deep down, even then, I knew there was no one else. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain long after it had already stopped. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same thing, his hand reaching not far enough. By morning, I had already decided what I was going to say, or more accurately, what I wasn't. The news spread fast. A body was found in an alley on the south side of Chicago. Male, late 20s. No witnesses. Possible robbery, they said. Possible. I remember standing in my kitchen, coffee going cold in my hands, listening to the radio repeat those words like they meant something. No witnesses? I almost laughed. Instead, I turned it off. They came by that afternoon, 2 detectives, plainclothes, tired eyes, the kind of men who had seen too many things like this to be surprised anymore. They asked simple questions. Where was I last night? What time did I get home? Did I notice anything unusual? I answered everything except the truth. No, I didn't see anything. The words came out smoother than I expected. No shaking voice, no hesitation. Just a clean, simple lie. One sentence. That's all it took. For a moment, I thought they knew. One of the detectives, older, heavier, watched me a little longer than the other. His eyes lingered like he was waiting for something to crack. I held my breath, not visibly, but inside. Everything stopped. Then he nodded, wrote something down, and moved on. Just like that. I was free. That should have been the end of it. That's what I told myself. You made a choice. You stayed out of it. It's over now. But something strange happens when you lie about something that matters. The world doesn't go back to normal. It shifts, just slightly. Enough that you start noticing things you never paid attention to before. That night, I locked my door twice. The next night, 3 times. I started checking the window before bed, then checking it again. Then once more, just to be sure. Every sound felt sharper, every shadow heavier, and every time a car slowed down outside my building, I froze, waiting. A few days later, they released his name. Daniel Brooks, 27 years old, worked at a garage not far from where I lived. No record, no known enemies, just a man who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I told myself I didn't know him, and that was true, but it didn't matter, because I knew something else, something no one else seemed to know. He didn't die right away. That thought came quietly at first, like a whisper I could ignore, but it didn't stay quiet. It got louder, more precise, more detailed. I started remembering things I hadn't noticed before, the way his chest moved, the way his fingers reached, the way his voice still worked. Help me! I began to understand something I wasn't ready to face. That night wasn't over. When I walked away, it kept going without me. And whatever happened next, whatever final moment he had, I wasn't there. The detectives came back once more. Routine follow-up, they said. Same questions, same calm tone, and again, I gave them the same answer. I didn't see anything. This time, it felt different, heavier, like the words had weight now, like they were building something around me, piece by piece. That's the thing about lies. The first one is a choice. The rest are construction. You repeat them, reinforce them, protect them, until one day you realize you're not just hiding the truth. You're living inside something you built to keep it buried. Weeks passed, then months. The case went cold. No suspects, no witnesses, no justice. And me? I went back to work, back to routine, back to a life that, on the surface, hadn't changed at all. I ate, I slept, I spoke, I smiled when I was supposed to, but something inside me had already shifted permanently, because every time I heard the words, "no witnesses," I felt it, that quiet, suffocating pressure in my chest, the one that didn't come from fear anymore, but from something far worse. Knowing. And for the first time, I began to understand that what I had done that night wasn't just walking away. I had erased him from the only place that might have saved him, the truth, and I did it with a single sentence. I didn't see anything. Time didn't heal anything. It just buried it deeper. At least, that's what I thought in the beginning. I went back to work. Same factory, same hours. Same men complaining about the same things. Steel, noise, heat. Nothing about my life looked different from the outside. That was the strangest part. The world didn't stop. It didn't even slow down. People laughed, married, had children, made plans for the future like it was something guaranteed, and I followed along. I got married a few years later. Her name was Linda. She had a way of looking at me like I was a good man. I don't know if that made things easier or worse. We built a life, a small house, a son, weekends that looked like every other family on the block. From the outside, I had everything a man was supposed to want. And for a while, I almost believed I deserved it. Almost. It started with small things. I couldn't stand silence, not real silence. If the house got too quiet, my mind filled it for me. Rain that wasn't there, footsteps behind me, a voice faint, distant. Help me! So I kept the television on, the radio, anything. Noise became a shield. Then came the doors. Every night before bed, I checked the front door, once, then twice, then a third time, just to feel the lock click under my hand. Some nights I'd get halfway up the stairs, stop, and go back down to check again. I told myself it was habit. It wasn't. It was fear. Not fear of what might happen, fear of what already had. Years passed. My son grew older. One night, when he was maybe 8 or 9, he asked me something I wasn't ready for. We were sitting at the kitchen table, homework spread out, pencil tapping against the wood. He looked up and said, "Dad, have you ever done something bad?" I remember freezing, not visibly, but inside, everything locked in place. There were 1,000 answers I could have given. Small ones, harmless ones, the kind parents use to teach lessons without telling the truth, but none of them came out. Because the only real answer was sitting right there, between us. Heavy, silent, unmovable. I forced a smile, said something forgettable, and watched him nod like it made sense. Kids do that. They trust you, even when they shouldn't. That night, I stayed up long after everyone went to bed, sitting in the dark, listening, not for footsteps, not for sirens, but for something else, something I couldn't name yet. Regret doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in, slow, patient. It doesn't knock down your door. It waits for you to leave it unlocked. There were moments, small, ordinary moments, when it hit the hardest. Standing in line at the grocery store, watching a stranger laugh. Seeing a man about the same age Daniel would have been, hearing a siren pass and feeling my chest tighten for no reason I could explain. Except I could. I always could. I stopped looking people in the eye, not consciously, just less, then less again, until one day I realized I hadn't truly met someone's gaze in years. Because when you carry something like that, you start to believe people can see it, not what you did, but what it made you. Linda noticed the distance. She asked questions. Are you okay? Did something happen at work? Why don't you sleep anymore? I gave her answers, not lies, just not the truth. There's a difference, and somehow that made it worse. The years turned into decades. The case faded. Names disappeared. Daniel Brooks became a line in an old file somewhere, gathering dust no one would ever bother to wipe away, except me. I carried him forward every day, every year, not as a memory, but as a presence. And somewhere along the way, something inside me changed. I stopped thinking of myself as a good man who made a bad decision. That story didn't hold anymore. Too many nights, too many reminders, too many chances to tell the truth ignored. Instead, a different thought took its place. Quieter, sharper, impossible to argue with. I didn't just walk away from him. I walked away from who I was supposed to be. By the time I reached my 60s, the fear of being caught was gone completely. No one was coming, no knock, no questions, no consequences. That should have felt like freedom. It didn't. Because when the world forgets, you don't get to. And that's when I finally understood something I wish I had known all those years ago. Punishment doesn't always come from the outside. Sometimes it settles in your chest and stays there. The doctor didn't look me in the eye when he said it. Weeks, maybe months. He spoke gently, carefully, like the truth needed soft edges to land, but I didn't need it softened. I understood. Not because of the words, but because of what they took away. Time. I went home that afternoon to the same apartment on the south side of Chicago. Same chair, same window, same silence. Only this time, it felt different, heavier, final. For years, I told myself I was waiting for something, for the police, for justice, for the past to come back and claim me. But sitting there, listening to the slow, uneven rhythm of my own breathing, I realized something I should have known a long time ago. It was never coming. No one was going to knock on my door. No one was going to force the truth out of me. If it came out at all, it would have to be because I chose it. So I did something I hadn't done in 52 years. I stopped waiting. It took me 3 days to find the number. Cold case division. I almost hung up twice before it even rang. My hand was shaking, not from fear of them, but from the weight of finally letting go of the lie I had been holding together for most of my life. A voice answered, calm, routine, unaware. Chicago PD. I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. For a second, I thought maybe this was it. Maybe I had waited too long. Maybe the words had died somewhere inside me. Then I heard it, not through the phone, not in the room, but in my memory. Help me! I'd like to report something. My voice didn't sound like mine, older, thinner, but steady. I know about a case from 1972. There was a pause on the other end, a shift in tone, and just like that, the past opened. They brought me in 2 days later, different building, different faces, but the same questions. Where were you that night? What did you see? Why didn't you come forward? This time, I answered all of them. No pauses, no edits, no lies. I told them about the rain, the alley, the man on the ground, Daniel Brooks. I said his name out loud for the first time. It felt heavier than anything I'd carried before. Then I told them about Michael Turner, about recognition, about fear, about the moment everything could have gone one way and didn't. One of the detectives leaned forward. Was he alive when you saw him? I closed my eyes, and there it was again. The hand, the movement, the voice. Yes. The word came out quieter than I expected, but it didn't waver. Did you attempt to help him? That question, that was the one I had avoided for 52 years. The one that had lived inside every sleepless night, every silence, every moment I couldn't explain. I looked at the table, at my hands, at the life I had built around that single decision, and for the first time, I didn't look away. No. The room went still, not dramatically, not like in the movies, just quiet. like something had finally settled into place. I walked away. They didn't react the way I thought they would. No anger, no shock, just notes being taken, a system absorbing a truth that had arrived decades too late. But I wasn't finished, because there was one thing left. The only thing that ever really mattered. He didn't die right away. I felt my throat tighten, not from fear, from certainty. He was alive when I left. He asked for help. I paused, just long enough to feel the weight of what I was about to say. Then I said it anyway. He didn't die that night. I looked up at them, at the room, at the world that had kept moving without ever knowing what I had done. He died because I walked away. No one spoke. There was nothing left to ask, nothing left to explain. For the first time in 52 years, there was no lie holding anything together, no version of the story that made it easier to live with, just the truth, complete, unprotected. I don't know what will happen next. Maybe they reopen the case, maybe they don't. Maybe it's too late for anything to matter, but for me, something already has. That night, back in my apartment, I sat by the window as the rain began to fall again. Soft at first, then heavier, familiar. I listened, not for footsteps, not for serenades, not for a knock that would never come. Just the rain, and for the first time in my life, it didn't sound like something I needed to escape. It sounded like something finally letting me go. Some truths are never buried. They simply wait until we are ready to face them. If this story made you think, hold on to it, or share it with someone who might need to hear it, because sometimes a single moment can follow you for the rest of your life.